The massive Derek Imperium warship hung in space like a dark mountain. It made the Earth diplomatic vessel look tiny, like a pebble next to a boulder. Admiral Kim walked through the cold corridors of the alien ship, her back straight and her eyes forward. Two guards walked with her, Commander Lee and Security Officer Park. The meeting room was big and strange. The ceiling was too high, the chairs too wide, and strange symbols covered the walls. The air smelled like metal and something sweet that burned the nose. Admiral Kim stood before the Derek Emperor Tool, who sat on a raised platform. He was twice her height with purple skin that looked like polished stone. His 6 eyes blinked at different times, and the mandibles around his mouth clicked when he spoke. "Humans are interesting creatures," Emperor Tool said. His voice was deep and seemed to come from everywhere at once. So fragile, yet so determined. The other Derek officials stood around the room. They wore shining armor with glowing parts. Some had weapons attached to their bodies. All watched the humans with what seemed like amusement. "We come with a message from Earth," Admiral Kim said clearly. Her voice did not shake. A plea for mercy, perhaps. Emperor Tool leaned forward. "We have heard many of those." "No." A warning. The clicking of mandibles grew louder as several Derek officials made their alien version of laughter. "You understand, human, that we have conquered 17 systems in the past solar cycle," Emperor Tool said. He waved a clawed hand, and a hologram appeared showing planets being surrounded by Derek ships. "Your defenses are primitive. Your weapons are inadequate." Admiral Kim reached into her pocket and placed a small device on the table. She pressed a button, and it projected an image of Earth, surrounded by a strange blue field. "This is Earth's final warning," she said firmly. "Approach our space again, and you will cease to exist." The room filled with the clicking sound of Derek laughter. Some of the officials bent over, their bodies shaking. Emperor Toll stood up. He walked down from his platform, each step making a heavy sound on the metal floor. He stopped in front of Admiral Kim and looked down at her. Then, without warning, he smashed the projector with his claw. "We will arrive at your homeworld in 72 hours, he said. "Prepare your surrender." Admiral Kim did not flinch. She looked at the broken pieces of the projector, then back at the Emperor. "You have been warned," she said quietly. The walk back to their ship was silent. The Derek guards followed them, weapons ready, but not pointed at them. It was clear they did not see the humans as a threat. Once back on their ship, Commander Lee started the engines. The small vessel pulled away from the massive Derek warship. "They didn't believe us," Commander Lee said, looking at the radar showing hundreds of Derek ships preparing to move toward Earth. Admiral Kim walked to the command chair and sat down. She looked tired, but her eyes were sharp. "They never do," she replied. She pressed a button on her wrist device. A small panel opened, revealing a red button. "Initiate Project Void." Back on Earth, deep underground, lights began to flash in a secret facility. Scientists and military personnel moved quickly. Huge machines hummed to life. On screens around the world, the Derek fleet could be seen moving into formation. "Project Void activated," said a voice through Admiral Kim's device. "All systems ready." "Understood," she replied. She looked at Commander Lee. "Set course for Earth. Maximum speed." As their ship turned and accelerated away, Admiral Kim looked back at the Derek fleet one last time. "They had their chance," she whispered. The Earth vessel disappeared into the darkness of space, leaving behind an enemy who had no idea what was coming. 100 meters below the busy streets of Seoul, Dr. Park sat in a large room filled with humming machines. Sweat ran down his face as he typed numbers into his computer. The air felt heavy and warm from all the equipment. "Almost done," he whispered to himself. The room was built after the Great War, when much of Seoul had to be rebuilt. The walls were thick concrete, and there were no windows. Only special elevators could reach this place, and few people knew it existed. In the center of the room floated a black ball about the size of a basketball. It didn't touch anything. It just hung in the air, perfectly still. Sometimes it seemed to absorb the light around it. 6 large machines pointed at the sphere, each glowing with blue energy. Dr. Park had worked on this project for most of his life. His hair had gone gray during these years underground. His eyes had grown tired from looking at screens, but today might be the day it all paid off. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Director Choi walked in, her uniform crisp and her face serious. She had helped fund the project from the beginning, fighting with government officials who didn't believe it would work. 20 years of work, Director Choi said, looking at the floating sphere. Will it function as designed? Dr. Park turned in his chair and nodded. His tired eyes showed a hint of pride. The quantum displacement field is stable. One activation and anything caught within the network simply shifts elsewhere. Director Choi walked closer to the sphere, careful not to touch any of the equipment. And the ethical considerations, she asked quietly. This was always the hard question, the one that kept Dr. Park awake at night. He took a deep breath before answering. We're not destroying them, Dr. Park replied. They'll remain intact, just elsewhere, a pocket dimension where they can harm no one. He had explained this many times, to many committees. It wasn't death. It was relocation. The aliens would still exist, just in a place cut off from our universe. They could live their lives there, build their society, but never threaten Earth again. Director Choi seemed about to say something else when a loud alarm cut through the room. Red lights flashed on the walls. The technicians around the room stopped what they were doing and looked up. On the big screens above, images appeared from space telescopes. The Derek fleet had arrived near Neptune. The small Earth outpost there, just a research station with 30 people, erupted in fire as the alien ships fired on it. The outpost was gone in seconds. They're earlier than expected, Director Choi said, her voice tight. The Admiral said we had 72 hours. Dr. Park's hands moved quickly across his computer. He pressed buttons and turned dials. The machines around the black sphere hummed louder. The nanite carriers are ready, he said. The web can be deployed. The nanites were tiny machines, smaller than dust. Each Earth ship carried billions of them. When the ships were destroyed, the nanites would spread into space. They would attach to the hulls of the alien ships, invisible and undetected. And then, when enough were in place, they would create a web, a network that would bend space itself. Dr. Park looked at the countdown on his screen. Earth defense ships were moving into position, ready to sacrifice themselves to deploy the nanites. How many ships will we lose? Director Choi asked. Hundreds, Dr. Park said sadly. But it's the only way. The room fell silent except for the humming machines. On the screens, they watched the Derek fleet move deeper into the solar system, heading for Earth. The enemy ships moved with confidence, not knowing that each Earth vessel they destroyed brought them closer to their own strange fate. It will work, Dr. Park said, more to himself than anyone else. It has to work. The space around Jupiter lit up with explosions. Earth ships, small and fast, darted between the huge Derek vessels. The Earth ships fired their weapons, but they made little impact on the alien hulls. The Derek ships, by contrast, fired green beams that cut through Earth ships like paper. In Earth's main command center, General Han stood with his hands behind his back. The large room was filled with officers at computer stations. The walls showed the battle from different angles. Red dots representing Earth ships disappeared one after another. Sir, we've lost 23 ships in the last 5 minutes, said Captain Min, looking up from her screen. Her face was pale, and her hands shook slightly. Our forces are being obliterated, his aide reported, standing close to General Han. Yes, General Han replied calmly. He didn't seem worried or upset. Each ship is deploying exactly what we need. Captain Min looked confused. She glanced at the aide, who just shook his head slightly. On the main screen, the view zoomed in on a small Earth ship as it exploded. The image changed to show what the normal eye couldn't see, microscopic particles spreading from the wreckage. These tiny machines, the nanites, floated away from the destroyed ship and toward the derrick vessels. The derrick ships moved forward, pushing deeper into the solar system. Their communications, which Earth had learned to intercept, were filled with confidence. "These humans are even weaker than we thought," said one derrick commander. "My ship has destroyed 5 of theirs, and we haven't even been scratched," said another. "The Emperor will be pleased with how quickly we conquer this system," a third added. General Han watched the screens without emotion. More Earth ships disappeared. More nanites spread. A new voice came through the command channel. It was Admiral Kim, speaking from her ship near Earth. "Nanite saturation at 60%, she said. Her voice was clear and steady. "We need higher concentration before activation." General Han pressed a button on his wrist device. "Understood. Defensive Line 2 will engage at Mars." He turned to face the officers in the command center. Some looked scared, others confused. They had been told this was their last stand against the invaders, but their general seemed too calm for someone losing a battle. "Prepare the Mars Battalion for contact," General Han announced. "All units in the Mars defense grid should be ready in 30 minutes. Captain Min approached him cautiously. "Sir, may I ask a question?" "Go ahead, Captain." "Our ships are being destroyed so easily. How can we hope to stop them at Mars?" General Han looked at her, then at the other officers who were watching him. He decided they deserved to know. "We don't need to stop them," he said. "We need them to destroy our ships." He pointed to the screen showing the invisible nanites. Each destroyed ship releases millions of nanites. These tiny machines attach to the derrick ships without being detected. When we have enough coverage, about 80%, we can activate Project Void. Understanding dawned on Captain Min's face. "So we're sacrificing our fleet on purpose." General Han nodded. "Every pilot knows their mission. They need to get close enough to the enemy to ensure nanite attachment when their ship is destroyed." On the screen, another Earth ship exploded. In its place, another cloud of invisible nanites spread out. "They need to believe they're winning until the very end," General Han said quietly. "Their confidence is our advantage." He looked at the map showing the derrick fleet's progress. They had pushed past Jupiter and were heading toward Mars, exactly as planned. Behind them, they left a trail of destroyed Earth ships and stations. But they also left something else, a growing web of microscopic machines that would soon connect every ship in their mighty fleet. "Prepare the next phase," General Han ordered. "The Mars defense grid must be ready when they arrive." The red planet Mars hung in space, its dusty surface peaceful and quiet. That peace was broken as the massive derrick fleet moved into position above it. Over 3,000 alien ships arranged themselves in a perfect arrowhead formation, all pointing toward the blue planet Earth that shined in the distance. Inside each derrick ship, alien crews prepared for their final attack. They had easily destroyed Earth's defenses at Jupiter. The Mars defense grid had put up more resistance, but it too had fallen. Now nothing stood between them and Earth. On the command ship, Emperor Tool sat on his throne. His purple skin gleamed under the lights, and his 6 eyes blinked with satisfaction. "Open communications with Earth," he ordered. "Let them see their conqueror before they die." On Earth, in the main command center, screens lit up with the alien Emperor's face. His image appeared on displays around the world, on military bases, in government buildings, and even on public screens in cities. People stopped and looked up, fear on their faces as they saw the creature who had come to destroy them. Admiral Kim stood in the center of Earth Command. Unlike the civilians, she showed no fear. Her uniform was neat, her posture straight. She looked at Emperor Tool's image without blinking. "Your pathetic resistance ends now," the alien's voice boomed. "Surrender your world or watch it burn." Around Admiral Kim, military officers and government officials waited nervously. Some whispered to each other. Others looked down at their hands. They had placed all their hope in Project Void, but no one knew for sure if it would work. "You were warned, Emperor," Admiral Kim replied, her voice calm and clear. "We offered peace. We requested only to be left alone." Emperor Tull's mandibles clicked rapidly, his species' version of laughter. "Your warnings mean nothing," he sneered. "We have conquered worlds far more advanced than yours. Your weapons cannot harm our ships." In the underground facility in Seoul, Dr. Park watched the exchange on his screen. His fingers moved quickly over his control panel, checking final readings. The nanites had spread throughout the Derek fleet, attaching to every ship. The invisible web was complete. Nanite saturation at optimal levels. Dr. Park reported through his communication link. In Earth Command, Admiral Kim received the message. She gave a small nod. "We warned you," she said to Emperor Tull. The alien emperor opened his mouth to reply, but Admiral Kim cut the connection. She pressed a button on her console. "Dr. Park, activate the device," she ordered. Deep underground, Dr. Park took a deep breath. 20 years of work had led to this moment. He placed his palm against the flat, glowing panel in front of him. The black sphere in the center of the room began to spin. Activation in 3, 2, 1. Dr. Park counted down. Throughout the solar system, the invisible web of nanites activated simultaneously, each tiny machine linked to the others, creating quantum connections between every Derek vessel. The web tightened, pulling the ships into the same quantum state. In space, the Derek fleet suddenly glowed with strange blue energy. The light started at the edges of each ship, then spread across their hulls. The light grew brighter and brighter. On the main Derek ship, Emperor Tull stood up from his throne. "What is happening?" he demanded, but no one had an answer. The blue light reached its peak intensity, so bright it was visible from Earth as a blue star near Mars. Then, in an instant, it was gone. And so was the entire Derek fleet. Where 3,000 ships had been, there was nothing. No explosions, no debris, just empty space around Mars. In Earth Command, everyone stared at the screens in shock. Some expected to see wreckage or fire, but there was nothing. It was as if the fleet had never been there at all. The command center fell silent. No one spoke. No one moved. They all just stared at the empty screens. Finally, Dr. Park's voice came through the speakers. "Displacement confirmed," he said. His voice sounded tired but relieved. "The entire fleet has been shifted to the pocket dimension." Admiral Kim closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, she looked at the officers around her. "It worked," she said simply. "Earth is safe." The great hall of the Galactic Council shined with light from 100 different sources. The ceiling was so high it disappeared into shadows. The walls were made of a strange material that changed colors slowly, shifting from deep blue to purple and back again. In the center of the hall stood Admiral Kim. She looked small compared to the huge room and the many alien representatives who sat in rising rows around her. Some had tentacles, others had wings. Some breathed water, others breathed gases that would kill a human. But all watched her with the same expression, a mixture of fear and respect. 6 months had passed since the Derek fleet vanished. Word had spread quickly through the galaxy. The species that everyone thought was weak had done something impossible. They had made 3,000 ships disappear without a trace. "The Derek fleet remains intact," Admiral Kim explained to the Council. Her voice was calm, but carried to every corner of the room. "Their ships are undamaged. Their people alive. They exist in a contained pocket of space-time, where they can live out their lives without threatening others." A tall, thin alien with blue skin stood up. This was the Novan representative. His species was old and wise, known for asking the important questions. "Can they be retrieved?" he asked. His voice sounded like wind through leaves. Admiral Kim nodded. "Yes. The pocket dimension is connected to our universe through quantum links. We can open a door if we choose." Whispers spread through the hall. Some representatives looked worried at this news. But Admiral Kim continued, "We will not do so until they agree to peaceful coexistence." The hall grew quiet again. The representatives looked at each other. Humans had power no one expected, power that could remove any threat. But they were not using it to conquer. They were using it to create peace. After the meeting, Admiral Kim walked in the council gardens with Dr. Park. He had aged in the past months. The stress of the project and its success had turned more of his hair gray. But his eyes looked peaceful now. The gardens were filled with plants from 100 worlds. Some glowed in the fading light. Others moved slightly, following the two humans as they walked. The sun was setting, turning the sky orange and purple. "Did you see how they looked at us?" Dr. Park asked. "Before today, I never saw an alien show fear toward a human." Admiral Kim nodded. "They see us differently now," Dr. Park observed.